Welcome, everyone, back to another edition of The Whole Perspective. My name is Kevin DeLory, Chief Lending Officer with EPM. Oh, as always, joined by my good friend and Senior Vice President, Kenny Phillips. Today, we have a very special guest. You all know him, Eddy Perez. Before Kenny does the bio, I just want to say a couple things. We've been here for about a year, and Eddie's not only become a friend, he's become a mentor, he's become a brother, and of course, a teammate. So in a very short period of time, and I was having this conversation yesterday, it's weird when you tell people that someone younger than you is your mentor. It's okay. You never know where you're going to learn, how to get to that next level. That's one thing Eddie has pushed Kenny and I both to do. That's to get to that next level and get 1% better every day. And today we're all wearing great shirts. Before you give the bio, there's a meaning behind the shirt. I normally don't wear T-shirts, but no sleep till Brooklyn, baby. Talk is cheap, and The Whole Perspective. But Kenny, you can take it away with Eddie's bio, and then we get dive into some great questions.
That was absolutely. Before we get started, we got to give Eddie his due and his introduction. So let's do that. Let's see. Eddie is a first-generation Cuban American. His father was a member of the Cuban national baseball team and arrived in Miami in 1964 after spending 3 days at sea on a rowboat rowing from Cuba to freedom. At a young age, Eddie was able to see his father firsthand, express his entrepreneurial spirit and build his own construction company. And what a freedom of mind, spirit, and career can do for someone's life. Eddie's background and experience includes accounting, finance, as well as the stock market. And right after the dot-com crash, he was introduced to the mortgage industry, where he went from a loan officer to a broker and operating one of the most successful branches of Global Mortgage and closed over 3,000 loans. With a big opportunity in sight, Equity Prime Mortgage, now known as EPM, as a mortgage broker in 2008 was born. Today, EPM is a national lender with a mission is to empower people more and create an even playing field in home buying experiences. Eddie believes home buying is the American gift because with a home, we can create freedom and empowerment for every single person. Welcome, Eddie.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for the intro. That was very kind of you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Eddie, it's funny. This is a long time coming. And, when I talk, we could just shoot the shit all day and laugh and joke, but I want people to get nuggets out of this, right? Because there's a lot of nuggets that you've shared with us that help us, get better. The first thing is, every executive in EPM has this on their door. No egos allowed. Please hang your ego up before entering. That's something that you're passionate about. We start off every meeting with we hang up our egos.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think that is so important for anyone that wants to be part of a team, that wants culture, to do?
I know there's people out there that say, well, you need an ego, it's good for you. That's not the ego I'm talking about. I'm talking about the ego that gets sensitive, doesn't embrace conflict, isn't willing to maybe, just maybe, think that somebody else has some value to add, and is a little bit self-absorbed. And I really do. I get that when people have reached certain levels, they've had a lot of success, but the success is like a staircase. There's always a little bit up that you got to keep going. And just because you got to one point doesn't mean you're going to get to the next one. And one of the best ways to get there is to hang up your ego. Even if you listen to somebody and 80% of what they tell you isn't going to work or is garbage or you don't think it's functional, but that 20% will make you a little bit better. And that's one of our rituals, is always hanging up, because I believe rituals are important because it puts you in the mindset of what you got to be thinking, what you got to be feeling to build trust. Egos will show up. I'm not saying they don't, but it is easy to say, hey, is this your ego talking? And people will be very honest about it. They really will.
Yeah, I think, as any young, we've Kenny and I have trained up some junior account executives. And I think that is the number one thing, because I wish I knew that when I was 25 years old coming into this business, that I should hang up my ego. I think I would have got a lot further, a lot quicker if I learned that at 25 versus at 50. I think that is something that has really been a game changer for me and allowed me to open my mind up and to do those things like embracing conflict. People hear the word conflict, they're like, oh, I don't want to fight. It's not a fight. It's just having a discussion of why you see it the way you do, I see it the way I do, and coming to a mutual agreement of how do we solve our problem. And not every solution, it's not a one size fits all. It's a conversation, it's teamwork, it's collaboration. So in an ECP, and we call it a embrace conflict party, in an ECP, you have to have collaboration. You have to have all those things working for you. Thank you, Phil. Choo choo. And yeah, I mean, I think all those things are key. But people hear the word conflict, they hear the word ego. It's all these dirty words. And one thing you have done here at EPM is said these words aren't dirty. Let's talk about them. Let's break them down what they actually mean.
Sure. Absolutely. I think that, a lot of people associate success and ego, right? And we've come here and we learned the total difference, right? It's not really about the ego when it's combined with the success. But I want to ask you a question, because you do a lot of mentoring with us, and you talk about, being honest, and then you talk about being an honest liar. Talk about your perspective on being an honest liar, because it's really interesting, your perspective on it.
No, there's no one we lie more than the mirror. So we are all honest liars. I'm going to go out and say it. We've all done it. We've all had pits on our stomach or something we knew just wasn't right, but we still did it. And one thing I always say is it doesn't take a liar to tell a lie. It takes an honest liar to tell an honest lie. So that's why sometimes perspective is misunderstood, because it's an honest lie that they're living, not purposely unaware, without malicious intentions, even though people think that they are, but they're not. So understanding that we're all honest liars, and even in any embracing conflict parties, like, all right, dude, are these some of the lies and the stories you're telling yourself? Because there's stories we always tell ourselves. And I've always said the people that are successful are the people that get to their honest lies faster and then take action on it.
Yeah, it's Eddy has this uncanny way of showing you that you're an honest liar.
Right.
Just the other day, I said, man, we're going through our meeting. I'm going through my scorecard, and I'm like, I really have sucked at really staying in shape and working out. And I said, just haven't had the time. And he said, do you really not have the time? Or is that you just being an honest liar? And I'm like, oh, shit, he got me. Yep, you're right. I'm an honest liar. I could have, put down that ice cream sundae and stopped watching Desperate Housewives of Beverly Hills for that hour and worked out for the hour. So you have this ability to make it so it's you let your guard down, and then you have this honest conversation, and you're like, really? And it's not like peppering. And I then leave him like, shit, I feel like I should work out. I got to go to the gym right now. Like, it's amazing. It's like a Jedi mind trick. I got to get better at that. But it's about asking, you guys, I hear you all the time say, do you ask enough questions? Yeah, that's something I want you to explain to people of why it's so important to ask questions, because you do that and you get the results you want. And I've been starting to do that. I was just having a conversation with someone the other day, and they said, did you ask enough questions? I'm like, no, I didn't. And that was silly. I should have. So why do you think it's so important to ask so many questions?
Something that I learned a long time ago, and I'll tell a story with that. Think about it. Somebody walks up to you and they say, hey, what do you do? People always spout off what they do. And people have been taught to be interesting, not interested. And you have to ask questions, because that's the only way you can be engaging and interested, instead of trying to influence or sell or put yourself out there. That's not going to connect people the same way. It's not biologically going to connect people. And asking questions, especially even curious ones, because that's usually the best ones. Like, dude, why'd you do it like that? Like, why? I'm just curious. Will get people to open up and become more vulnerable and feel safer, believe it or not, even if they've got to deliver bad news.
Right.
So asking questions is just demonstrating that you're interested in them, not one-way street. What are you doing for me? What's my ROI? It's one of my philosophies that I talk about, ROR, return on respect. I think the best thing that you can do is prepare when you talk to somebody. And if you don't, and like, I'm not saying have a script, but even when you're sitting there engaging, get them to elaborate even a little bit more. Like, they'll tell you, oh, this is XYZ. What about this? Have you thought about what else? I think that's very powerful, that when you ask questions, think about it. We've all been in meetings or conversations with people where all you do is ask questions. You answer nothing. They answer it all.
Right.
You guys give a summation and then everything works out well. Well, yeah, dude, you paid them a lot of respect. You actually listened. You actively listened. You actually, at the end of the day, you demonstrated without words how you care.
Yeah, I think that key of what you did is how we became such fast friends. I've shared things with you that I've never shared with anyone because you've asked me so many questions. And the more you ask me, the more I let my guard down and the more I open up because I feel you're interested, right? So that is a key. And it is so different in this show, in even this podcast. I've shared things that I've never shared with people and I've opened up more and more. So one thing about that I've learned the most at EPM was to be okay being me, hang up my ego, ask enough questions, be interested in people. So, I mean, Kenny, I think you'd agree. I mean, I think that is one of the secret sources of EPM and the leadership.
Absolutely. That coupled with culture, right? I think we come from a place where culture was different. They brought us on board, and the culture's been, a 360 from what we experienced in the past. So, Eddie, when you're looking for leadership, we always compare you to like the GM of a team because we like, sports analogies, things like that. And you put a lot of your executive team between Phil and, Kevin and Jason. What do you look for to keep that culture alive in your executive team?
Culture, you got to live it every day. It's a very fine line. Very fine line. It's really, truly a tightrope that has to be worked on, perfected, and more importantly, demonstrated every day. You got to have a lot of candor. You got to be very radically transparent. You have to tell people what's going on and how and why and what. People will respect that. And when it comes to culture, it's not only how you bring people in, but even as people leave, how you treat them out. Did you, in this tough market, try to look out for their best interests and make sure that they land on a solid foot? You just have to grind it. It's an everyday process. We're all human. We can slip at times, but it's really the mindset of doing the right thing always that will lead to a good culture, even if there are bumps, bruises, because that's going to happen. We're human. We're not perfect. Perfection really is the enemy of great or good. That builds to great because you got to make some mistakes to get to great. So you just got to really go for it and walk that line. You just have to. And it's not easy. It does require asking people a lot of questions. It does require putting out surveys, putting yourself out there, getting on videos, especially in today's hybrid world, engaging. But I promise you it's worth it. I promise you it works extremely well in all facets of your life, not even at work, anything. I mean, we've all done it. Look, I learned this. I got pulled over by a cop. He told me, "Do you know you were going 55? Absolutely." He looked at me like I was crazy. What do you mean, absolutely? I said, well, I didn't feel like I was going 55, but then when I saw you, I looked down and I saw the lights. I go, dang, dude, I got to pay a little bit more attention. And I'll never forget it. He looked at me and he was like, huh, because I was in a 35. He was like, huh. Came back and said, I'm not even going to give you a warning. I'm not going to put it on the record. Just try to pay a little bit of attention. I understand that I hadn't even realized you had left a 45. You were just going. Just pay attention. But why? Because I was honest. I had candor. I didn't sit here and be like, hey, you get taught those things you see online. Hey, did you get your recalibrated? I'm going to fight you. La, 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 la. Come on, dude. A lot of candor will get you pretty far. I mean, that's one of the things that's helped us. We've made mistakes. Nope. Yep. We did it. Yep. How do we get better at it? How do we do it? How do we level others up? You got to always look inward.
I say this on every episode. People probably like, here he goes. Culture is something that's living, breathing.
Right.
It's not something we put on a business card. It's not something we put on the wall and feel good about it. It's something that we really believe in. And you said something there about candor. And Kenny, go back to your question. It's, you've preached, we are the foundation. We're at the bottom. We're holding up everyone else. This isn't 1970s Ford where you start the CEOs at the top and it comes down. But you don't just say it. You live it. You breathe it. You get on the phone with brokers. You support us with whatever we need. But I think you're also, we talk about candor. You put the right people in the right places to build a mastermind. It's not the Eddy Perez show. It's this collection of people that come together and we collaborate and we have candor and we unify through collaboration. We do all those things that you've created. But in one of the questions I want to ask you, why is it so important not to be the smartest person in the room? You I think the group you put together, the mastermind that sits at those strategics, nobody else is meeting once a quarter to figure out what they're doing and letting the executives say, hey, I think we should do this, and doing it with no ego, doing it with sometimes there's an ECP in there, but we unify
or
through
five.
vision.
Right.
But why do you believe so much in the foundation, the leadership being the foundation? I know the answer, but I think anyone that wants to be an executive or anyone that wants to build a company needs to hear, the answer to that.
Well, I would say, to use a great analogy, is we've all seen it. We've all seen the guys that only work out their upper body at the gym and then have toothpick legs. I think the foundation of the organization is the basement, just like a house. It represents a house. We have to carry the most weight on our quads. And just like in sports, all athletes work out their quads and it's the biggest muscle. It also goes unnoticed at times. I use the basement analogy because even though we've all been there, man caves, parties thrown in the basement, there's a lot of fun there. As executives, you get to see a lot of reward when it comes to other people's growth and making them better. But there's also a lot of darkness in there. You have to deal with a lot of it. You have to deal with people that are going to misunderstand you and possibly character assassinate you. And you have to be okay with that. And you have to understand it's not personal, because even if they character assassinate you, but there was 5% better you could have gotten and 95% of it was garbage, you have to do that. And then you do have to hire the best and get out of the way. Carnegie, Steve Jobs, and Henry Ford built empires on that philosophy. When I read Think and Grow Rich many, many moons ago, I really bought into that and really saw it firsthand, because think about it. Yeah, I've been a broker, I've been an originator, I've been all that. I'm not at the level of you two when it comes to building and running wholesale teams and building that. I mean, could I try to figure it out? Sure. But why not put people in positions? Why not listen to your broker community on, hey, this is where things are not going as well, and why not listen? I mean, people are giving you their time, they're giving you their respect, and there's only so much time in this world. Therefore, they're showing you the ultimate care and love. You need to honor it and respect it back. So then comes the first floor, that's senior VPs, and then comes the second floor, which is middle management. Then the fourth is the employees, and then the fifth is the consumer. And I look at it from a vantage point. The consumer, the employees, middle management, that's who you got to listen to, because they see the most of what's going out on the terrain. They're the first one to hear from the consumer. They're the first one to hear from relationships on something that's going sideways that sometimes don't make it all the way down to the bottom. So it really is a bottom up, because it's really at the top that's the most important, and it does flow down. You have to be consumer-centric, employee and middle management-centric. Senior leadership and executives, there's at times, and y'all heard it, I've said, hey, man, that's the price. You got to deal with it. And it's not me being unempathetic. That's just like, dude, you know what you signed up for. You have to respect the price, because the price to me is an acronym of pain, respect, in conscious efforts and experiences. You just got to understand it and be okay with it. There's nothing wrong with it. Just got to be okay with it.
It reminds me of something the other day we talked about, Kenny. It was funny. Someone said, here isn't about title. It's about working together. And I said, I don't care what people call me as long as they call me. You can call me whatever you want. You can use whatever title you want, do whatever you want.
Sure.
Well, except for one. I don't believe in using this word. I think if you're a leader, you're a leader. Managers aren't leaders. The word drives me crazy.
I agree. I can't do it myself.
I don't need a manager to babysit people. I want a leader that leads and shows the way. And that's something that you do really well. And it isn't about title. And that's why after I said it, I've been thinking about it. I said it 2 days ago, and I don't care what they call me as long as they call me. You can call me whatever, unless you call me King Delroy.
King Delroy.
Right. So
that's funny, though. That is funny.
That's a great story.
I'll never live it down. But the point is, you're not that guy that says, hey, I'm at the top of the mountain. So that foundation thing, I want anyone that's listening to is this is real stuff. This isn't stuff that sounds great. This is the way that we work every day. I mean, when we're on Kenny, this is what we live every day.
Well, absolutely. And, we're fortunate enough to work for a company. We're growing. Eddy, what do you give other leaders as far as advice right now? We're in a tough market. It's volatile. We're trying to navigate through it. And your company, we, at this point in time, we're still growing. So what advice do you give other leaders out there?
You got to get back to the basics. You got to get back to your fundamentals. You got to make your fundamentals even stronger. To use the analogy, if you can squat 300 pounds, you better build up to squat 350 pounds during this time. You got to get stronger, but you got to lean out. It's not about being sexy. It's about blocking and tackling and taking care of the consumer, your loan officers, your referral partners, your brokers, builders. You just go back to the basics and really harness relationships. And you've got to be willing to ask people to sacrifice. And why you do that, first of all, it has to start at the executive level. They have to sacrifice the most, by the way. You know that with me. Then goes senior, middle. And then you'll really realize who's on the mission and the vision with you of home ownership. Because like I said, it is the American gift. I do believe that the American dream is the 7.3 billion people that aren't in this country. For the 330 million, it's a gift, and it's what you use it. And home ownership is so important because the first thing they do in repressive governments that a lot of people aren't aware of, they first away take your property rights. And we actually promote property rights and create property rights and are part of the greatest sector, real estate, that keeps freedom going. So we have an obligation and a duty, and that's why you have to ask for the sacrifice. Some people won't go for it, and that's okay because you don't want them on your boat. And that's where sometimes you can really hone in and see who's a lifer. Because this industry is very good, but it is roller coasterish. We've seen this movie. I've seen this movie 4 times. I've been in 20 years. This movie happens. I think this is the second one because I think this is more of a changing of the guard like happened in 07. It started in 07. We always see it before everybody else. So we're seeing it now, and it started 11 months ago in the industry before the rest of the world sees it a year from now. And then they start talking about it, and we're like on the other side, and we're all getting better. So you just got to ask for sacrifice, and you got to ask for people to demonstrate that they're bought in, not just say that they are.
Yeah, I think your shirt is perfect for that answer, right? Talk is cheap. I think, you know, Kenny, it's funny, someone asked me the same question yesterday, and I said, it's to do more than you did the day before, but expect less. It doesn't mean that you'll settle for it, right? So I got to do twice as much as I did before. Now, a year ago, any order taker could come in and do, 10 units, right? No big deal. So now I got to do more to do 8 units. But if you're a real winner, if you really believe in yourself and you believe in your company and you believe in the future of your company, you do it. And it's simple. And it's not about talking about it. It's about the actions of just doing it. So, that's a great point, Andrew. Why other people are making more, and this isn't BS.
We did the opposite. We actually did the complete. We started at the complete basement and first floor before anything else.
That's what it says. Your actions. That's my point. Talk is cheap. What do your actions show? Your actions show that you'll do anything you can to make sure that we continue to. Listen, we just had an event. It was a cheap EPM wholesale to give back to our broker community, our partners, our teammates, to make sure that in this tough market, we wanted to give them any advantage we could. It wasn't about just saying these things and putting up some great posts. You put your money where your mouth is. We had all these folks come out to Atlanta and have an amazing 2 days of learning, development, to get better, to tackle this market, and to your point, to come out stronger than when you went into it.
Right.
So I think that's really what it is. Kenny, it just my sense, it's about just it's really what Eddie just said. It's more about action, being accountable, and instead of doing what everyone else is doing. And that's just running their mouth and talking. Show up every day and give it all you got.
Make it a regimen. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's funny you talk about the wholesale event. We sat down, we had meetings about the wholesale event. It was approaching, and we sat down and we came to Eddie and said, is this a financially smart idea right now in this market? Should we cancel? And he said, no. This community needs this event. Talk about how important the broker community is and why you was so, this was so important to you during the final. We said, hey, market shrinking, margins are compressing, and we throw this elaborate event that really put out a great message to our broker community. Why was that so important to you?
Well, I think also the speaker was part of the cultural move. I think people needed to hear from Tim Grover because I think at times they need to hear from somebody who's actually accomplished it, done it with some of the best. And more importantly, he took them to championships when they weren't there yet. So it's not like he rode the flag before. Jordan didn't win until he met him. Kobe had won, but under a different regime, and then had to come back and rechange his career. You see that all. So I think he is truly an elevator. I also thought he was not a typical public speaker, rah-rah. He even said that winning is unapologetic and winning can change on you anytime. And I think people needed to hear that because the people that really resonated with as a message, we had to live our virtues. we had to live our theme of empowering people more and just really stepping in and really trying to create as much communication that's needed, because I think they do value it. And even though there's a lot of doom and gloom out there, we're still going to do 2.1 trillion next year. That's still a lot of business. It just, as I said, 450,000 people were in this industry August of 21. There's probably 125,000 or 150,000 gone. So this industry runs on normal about 280,000, give or take. And I think it's just, I get it when everybody had to raise up to get to 4 trillion, but that's just an abnormalness. The market runs usually around 280,000, 300,000 employees. And you just have to understand that and be cognizant of it and be empathetic about it. But yeah, no, we had to do that because I thought the community needed it. Obviously, haven't been a broker myself, haven't been an originator too. I'll always have passion and understand that side of it. I know what it's like. Yes, we transformed into a lender, but one of our commitments was always to come back to the wholesale community and lend from a different leadership position, not just locally on the ground, but support and go more B2B, because I thought that our impact could be higher.
Listen, I think you use an analogy of, basketball. And I think, you've allowed us to put together a dream team here. And I'm really proud of where we have come and where we are today, just to watch the comments that we're getting on a daily basis of the change that we've made. And we've embraced it and everyone's embraced it. I think, I look at, Phil Brousseau, you gave him the second win. You put a win back in his sales that he didn't have before. Here's a guy that's his SVP of underwriting, putting his cell phone number up on LinkedIn. Who does that? I don't know of anyone. You really.
I don't know of any.
No, exactly. I mean, it's the fact that we're so proud to be here and own this and be alongside you and be, holding up the team and the foundation. I think that right there it says a lot about when you say I surround myself and put the right people in and let them go. Exactly your trust in us and the belief and the trust we have in you. So that I think is what's making EPM so special. Where other people, Kenny, you made a point like, hey, they might be slowing down. I don't think they're slowing down. I think they're afraid they don't know what to do.
Right.
We have the right people in the right place, and we're not afraid to take risks. We're not afraid, to do things different than everyone else. And that's what EPM is, in my opinion. When I look out, culture is different. The leadership's different. We're doing different things. And it's inspired me at 50 years old to change up a lot of the stuff that I was doing before that I thought worked, to try different things and to hang up my ego, embrace conflict, unify through collaboration. I'm having conversations with people that before I would avoid, and I didn't realize I was hurting my team by avoiding them. Now we have them on a daily basis, multiple times a day, to get ahead. So I think all of these great things, I saw Andrew post some comments, to be able to help people like that are so appreciative and help them grow. I think that's why you do it. I think that's why Kenny does it. I know that's why I do it. I get out of bed every day looking for that next person that I can help take them one more loan than they closed the day before, two more loans than they closed the day before. Just like we'll be out. I'm excited. We'll be out at LOS support, with Nexer next month and really be able to talk about it. So I think, we're actually going to talk about talk is cheap. And I think you live it, you breathe it, you walk it every day. Talk is cheap. It's your actions will make Eddy Perez such an amazing CEO leader. That is what separates you from everyone else. And this isn't, by the way, everyone, I'm not looking for a raise. I'm actually going to be sacrificing. So don't think I'm saying this. But,
No, you were one of the first ones. Both you guys were all part of the sacrifice.
So I really believe in this. And I think anyone that's looking for real culture should be talking EPM. Anyone that wants to grow their business and have a true partnership should be calling EPM. And I don't like to make this show. Everyone knows we never really talk about EPM, but it's hard not to when you're so passionate about the guy that you're, holding up this, company with. You have no choice. It's contagious. And thank you for being the way you are. Even today, I'm looking at myself in the mirror. I'm like, no more excuses. I got to work out. I got to work out. Like, I can't lie to myself anymore. I can't be an honest liar. Although last night my defense, I did land at 1:00 this morning and still was able to get this hair looking this amazing for this I know you're going to try to battle me for best hairdo, and I know Kenny has no chance. And the last thing I'll say, this is the most diverse group I think we've ever had on the show. You know, it's I'm the only one that's normal. Yeah, right, exactly. So.
No, you got amazing trust in your staff, Eddie. I tell you, you give a lot of autonomy. Like you always say, listen, you're sharing your vision, but then you put up guardrails, but you let everyone do their job. You know, it's amazing. How do you get that trust? You run a big organization and set that trust out there for your employees and your teammates, coworkers. You know, where does that come from?
Trust is only built through action. That's it. A lot of people can believe, but action's everything. And you got to go do it. And action also could mean if things didn't go the right way, but you acknowledge it, but then you work on the process and the systems, or you even train the people, because we're all going to make mistakes. You know, you can't even have a company if all you did was chastise individuals for their mistakes. Now, look, some mistakes are so detrimental that they're unacceptable, but that's different. That's more of an anomaly. That's more an outlier, not a normal. So you got to really look inward, because a lot of times when you look inward and, you know, we're talking about running away from being an honest liar, and you look at self-responsibility, you'd be like, damn, dude, I kind of sense this, but I didn't say something. I think that's part of it. You know, you gotta let people to room. That was one thing I didn't always do good as a leader. Like, I let people do their thing, but I didn't even put up guardrails. So they drive off the whole cliff, and then I didn't understand why it bombed and failed. So I've known now, hey, dude, you're hitting the car, chill out, you know, move around. It's a 4-lane highway. There's plenty of room, but you know, you've hit the guardrail. And that's something that took me time and my own self-awareness development that I needed to do as a leader to really grow it.
As Phil Mancuso would say, a rising tide lifts all boats.
Lifts all boats.
That's an original.
You know, Kenny, we have our staple question that I'm dying to know. I know the answer.
You know the answer.
But everyone else needs to hear the answer.
So the staple question of the podcast is, it's all about value, right? How you define your value in industry. So we know a lot about you, Eddy, but please tell us, how do you define your value as Eddy Perez, CEO and president of EPM in our industry?
For the industry, for you guys, or for who?
You. How do you define your value?
To the industry. How do you define your value to the industry?
Oh, man, dude. You got to lift others up. You got to really grow people. You got to really pour into them. It's tough. It's a struggle. They will fight you. They will self-sabotage themselves. But I think that selfless journey is actually how joy is built, because you guys are both self-improving together. You're both getting 1% better. And it's just really that mindset of, I'm going to look out for your best interest, regardless of how uncomfortable I make you feel, not for my best interest, but for yours. And at times, you know, nothing that ever grows, no muscle that ever grew, no weight that got lost, no smarter, no reading books, no nothing came without struggle. Struggle is a great gift. The difference is, do you struggle okay? Do you struggle good, or do you struggle well? The people that do great in life and accomplish a lot, and the people that you help raise up, they just struggle well. That's it. They still struggled. Trying to get rid of struggle, like anything, you don't take care of your body, you're not putting it through struggle, you fall apart. That's how we're wired and built. It's even how oxytocin and serotonin are built in the body, pay it forward, things of that nature, instead of dopamine, which is just a sugar high for feel-good hormone.
No, Eddy, it's a pleasure to come in here every day. Thank you for believing in us. This has been great. I hope everyone, you know, this is real. This is Eddy Perez, uncut. This is the way you see him. Last night I'm having dinner with him. The conversation is the same. You know, we're joking about the silliest of things. The conversation's the same.
Gotta have fun. Gotta have fun.
100%. And you just don't change who you are. At the core, you are who you are. And we're lucky to get to listen. I've read more books in the last year than I've read in the last 49 years of my life. You know, I didn't come out of the womb reading, but if I could, there would still be more. But those are the things that you've provided to us. Right. And everything that you said, I can tell anyone that's listening, it's real. This is who he is. This is who EPM is. And I'm excited to see where the next chapter takes us.
Oh, yeah. A lot of opportunity out there.
Yeah, when you talk about real, I got to tell one story before we go. When you talk about real, is when Phil Brousseau came on board, he called me one night and he was like, "Tell Eddy I'm sold already. He doesn't have to text me. I'm sold already." I said, "Let me tell you one thing." I said, "It's not about selling you. It's not going to stop. What he's doing is the real Eddy. He's going to text you. He's going to check in on you, make sure you're all right, make sure your family's all right. It's the person he is. So the sale, it's not about the selling point. It's really about him opening up, reaching out, and making sure that you're a part of the team and you understand that he has your back. So.
Yeah, it's funny. Getting to that point, and I told this to Eddy before. When I first met Eddy, he would text a lot. I'm like, wow, this guy texts. As the more I got to know him, I would text him, and if I didn't see the bubbles, I'd get pissed. I'm like, what's this guy doing? Like, is he serious right now? Is he trying to play hard to get with me? Like, I don't see any bubbles. Now when I text him, I know that I don't even have to wait 30 seconds. The bubbles will be there, and we end up, he'll drop whatever he's doing to help me. I mean, just this last week, he was out for his daughter's Sweet 16, and we talked probably 3 times a day, and you're like, Eddy, I want you to enjoy it. And he's like, I care about this too. I want to see what you're up to. How's your day going? And he always ends every call with this, which I find any leader, if you want to be a better leader, end every call with this. What can I do to help you? Every call ends just like that. And it's always, my answer is always the same. You've already done it. I don't even know if you know what you've done for me. It's already done. So, Eddy, thank you for being part of the whole perspective. If you guys want to learn more about anything we talked about today, our emails are simple. Kevin@epm.net, kphillips@epm.net. I mean, Eddy's signature, by the way, just to let you guys all know, Eddy's email is in the bottom of every email that goes out from this company. Anytime you want to know something or you want to address something with Eddy, it's there. And he responds. It isn't some gimmick. It's the real deal, just like Eddy Perez. So if you want to learn more, go over to EPM Wholesale on Facebook, EPM Wholesale on LinkedIn, or I forgot the third one, Kenny. You want to throw that one out there? Broker Success. Broker Success. There you go. And you can learn more about EPM. Eddy, as always, thank you. Thank you for being the second best hairstyle on the podcast today. Kenny, I'm sorry you didn't place.
Bronze medal here, huh?
And remember everything. No sleep till Brooklyn. Talk is cheap. And RBMF. Thanks a lot, Eddy.
All right, take care, guys.